Today we're going to talk about practicing. If you've just started playing the fiddle or the violin, chances are you've given this a little bit of thought already. How often should I practice? How long should I practice? What's the best way to practice? Well, based on my years of experience as a teacher and my own experience as a player, I've come up with three basic rules, or let's call them three recommendations for how to practice. And we'll go over those right now. Number one, practice a little bit often. The other day I read about a study that found that the human attention span has shrunk from 12 seconds in the year 2000 to 8 seconds in the year 2015. 8 seconds. I'm not saying that to scare you or to depress you, just to acknowledge here, just so that we acknowledge that our attention span is really, really short and has never been shorter. So in other words, our attention is a finite resource and we need to use it wisely. So I recommend keeping your practice sessions short and focused. What I recommend is to practice for 10 minutes at a time on one thing at a time. So if you need to work on your left hand technique, practice a piece that you know already pretty well, that you have committed to memory. Practice in front of a mirror and watch your wrist. If your wrist bends, for instance, in the middle of the piece, stop and correct yourself, and then play on. And if it happens again, stop and correct yourself. Be absolutely ruthless with yourself. Work yourself like a rented mule. And every time your form lapses, correct yourself. This is very important. And if this sounds really difficult, remember, we're talking about 10 minutes here. This is a very short span of time. Anybody can do this. And once you've gotten to the end of your 10 minutes, stop, pat yourself on the back, take a little break, and then for another 10 minutes, work on something else. So if you want to read a new piece of music that you're finding challenging and you really want to work on your note reading, do that for 10 minutes. And don't worry about your left hand. Don't worry about anything else except getting the notes right, reading the notes right. So depending on how much time you have, I would say shoot for, at a minimum, a 20-minute practice session per day. And of course, broken into two 10-minute sessions. So, and they don't have to be back to back. You can practice 10 minutes in the morning, 10 minutes in the evening, but make sure you do this every day. Consistency is your secret weapon. So really, I can't emphasize that enough. Another thing that I recommend, if you can leave your instrument out, if you can leave your case open, you don't have pets or children that make that a dicey proposition, keep your instrument at hand so that when you're waiting for the water to boil, when you're waiting for customer service while you're on the phone to the cable company, you can practice for 10 minutes easily. Trust me, I did it the other day. Take advantage of those little gaps in your schedule, and I think you'll find that you can practice a lot more than you thought you could. Sometimes I think there's a mental hurdle that we have to step over when it comes to practicing. We think we need to portion off a part of the day to do this. We have to plan for it like we would for a vacation. But if you do these little micro sessions, I think you'll find that you can find that 10 minutes here and there throughout the day, and you'll practice a lot more. Number two, get some sleep. And I'm not kidding. I think every musician I know has had this experience where you're trying to work on something new, something challenging in your practice sessions, and it just isn't coming. You're beating your head against the wall, and you're not making any progress, and you finally quit. And then you go to sleep that night and wake up the next morning, and boom, there it is. The thing you've been practicing, the thing you've been struggling with, you know it like you've always known it, like you were born knowing it. It just seems easy and effortless. And I don't want to oversell sleep, but I don't think I can. It really is pretty miraculous. Half of your learning process takes place while you're sleeping. So really, I know it's difficult to get that 7 or 8 hours a night, but consider your sleep as part of your practice time and get some sleep. Number three, have a performance goal. This is really important. Remember that music is a performing art, which is just another way of saying that it's a social art. So the music that you're making in the privacy of your home, in the privacy of your practice room, isn't really music. It's sort of the precursor to music. Music becomes music when it's shared with an audience, or with other players, or with just another human being in general. So I would recommend committing to a performance goal within the next 6 months. Put it on the calendar. Make it an absolute deadline. And it doesn't have to be anything grand. It doesn't have to be, I'm going to play Carnegie Hall in 6 months. Play for your spouse, or play for somebody in a family member. Play for your dog. I mean, but approach it like a performance. So you're going to play a set number of pieces, and you're going to think about the flow of from one piece to the next. And even think about your banter, how you're going to introduce the pieces. And while you're practicing, for however long it takes you to get to your performance date, imagine your audience is there in the room with you. Play the pieces for real. There's a time and a place while you're practicing for breaking down a piece, measure by measure, and really working on one little part of the tune at a time. But also, don't forget to play the whole piece through as many times as you're going to play it for the performance. To play the fiddle tune, say 3 times through with an intro and an ending, and to think of it as a complete piece of music, and to perform it that way in your rehearsals. The reason I recommend this is not only because I think it's an incredibly important part of the music making process, but it's really motivating. And part of what motivates you is that little bit of anxiety that you get from knowing that you're going to have to play this in front of people. It really does focus the mind. Now, you want your performance goal to be ambitious enough so that you feel a little bit nervous, so that you have butterflies just a little bit, but not so ambitious that you are paralyzed with fear and dread. So find that happy medium where you've just got some butterflies but are not curled up in fetal position thinking about your performance. So a little bit of fear goes a long ways. So really, set a performance goal and stick to it. That's number 3. Thanks for watching. If you would like more information on my teaching studio, you can find me at ericonfiddle.com, E-R-I-C on fiddle.com. There's a link in the description below to subscribe to my email newsletter if you want updates on video lessons that I'm releasing. And if you just have any questions, feel free to contact me. I'm always glad to help. So thanks for watching.